GH1 TV, your best experience. GH1 TV, your best experience. GH1 TV, your best.
Hello there, good morning to you. Welcome. This is Newsroom here on GHOne Television. My name is Lantam, Papanko. Let's take a look at the headlines. And coming up today, more reactions coming after the NDC flag bearer John Dramani Mahama presents his youth manifesto. We'll put the focus on the free level 100 tuition and taxes. Now, following the acquittal in a robbery case, we go back to Judith Kume's tragic tale of having her hair cut off despite her innocence and Criminal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital resumes dialysis for treatment for inpatients following a 2-week closure. We'll take you live to the premises for an update. Now, following acquittal in a robbery case, we go back to Judith Kume's tragic tale of having her ear cut off despite her innocence. Has she seen justice yet? We'll bring you more. And later on international front, Islamic State allied militants killed 12 people in the Eastern Congo. We've got details of all of these stories and more coming up for you here on Newsroom. Do stay tuned. Thank you very much once again for joining us here on Newsroom. The bulletin is streaming live on Facebook. We are also live, of course, across other social media channels, including YouTube. Just look for GH1 Television. It's time for the Election Hub. Now, a group calling itself Friends of Bernard Mona have picked up nomination forms for Bernard Mona to contest in the flag bearership of the People's National Convention. The leader of the group, Nananto Amerechi, during an interview with the media after paying for the nomination forms, assured party members of a clean campaign devoid of insults and acrimony.
Bernard Mona is making an attempt to become the flag bearer of the PNC after he launched his campaign with a promise to unite the various feuding groups in the party. As part of requirements to contest for the flag bearership of the PNC, a group describing itself as Friends of Bernard Mona picked nomination forms for Bernard Mona. According to the leader of the group, Nananto Amerechi, Bernard Mona is the only marketable candidate in the PNC who can defeat NDC's John Mahama and MPP's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
We are here as Friends of Bernard Mona to present 10,000 Ghana cedis bankers draft on his behalf for him to be able to contest to become one, the flag bearer of PNC, and then two, the President of the Republic of Ghana. As he has declared his intention to become the President of the Republic of Ghana, we believe that he is the only candidate who can beat John Dramani Mahama and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Bernard Ambatayala's Mona campaign is going to be a campaign which is going to be free, fair, devoid of insults and attack.
Acting General Secretary of the PNC, Prince Ajimandua, also spoke to the news team.
Mona and his team came this morning to pick up their form, and they've paid for the forms, which is 10,000. So we are expecting them to go through and fill everything and bring it back and pay for the filing fee and everything as well.
The PNC will be going to Congress to elect its flag bearer and other party executives ahead of the 2024 general elections on 31st August 2024.
The opposition NDC has promised to scrap first-year tuition fees for students in public universities and teacher nursing training colleges of education if they are voted into power. Now, the party's youth manifesto launched yesterday. The NDC said this would help lessen the burden on students in tertiary institutions. Now, speaking on GH Today earlier, the Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC, Osman Ayariga, explained that the initiative was arrived at after carefully being deliberated. He said excesses from allocations of the Office of the Government Machinery will fund the initiative.
If you are able to cut expenditure in most of the places that there's wastage, we should be able to run this government. You do not need to be wasting so much money in all of these sectors. Talk about government machinery, talk about corruption, talk about other ministries that are overspending, other ministries that are spending beyond their means, beyond their reach. Look at the bloated nature of government. That is why His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has told that he's going to run the leanest government with a very few ministers. All of these policies will reduce government spending, and with the little resources you have, you'll be able to put it to prudent use policy.
Right.
Yes, so public investment, that's why we came up with a figure of 275 million, because annually in the public universities, the admission rate for first year is around 125,000 students. If you multiply that by the average cost of the academic fees, then you'll be ranging with a figure of 275 million. And that's why we're telling you that it is doable. The monies we've lost to corruption is way beyond 275 million. The monies we've lost to stealing is beyond 275 million. The monies under people's beds is beyond 275 million.
Right. But the MPP is casting doubts on this policy. Now, the lecturer at the UPSC and member of the NPP's communications team, Ishaq Ibrahim, describes the initiative as a mere gimmick. He also spoke on GH Today.
So for a party such as NDC is promising Ghanaians free university education for the first year students. And look at the group they have chosen. They have chosen public schools. I'll come to explain to you why they have decided to say it is public universities that they will focus on. because they want to underfund them. They will promise. If for some reason they happen to come to government, they will promise, they will underfund first year, pretending it's free, meanwhile there is no quality. But remember, if NDC is giving you a promise, look at their track record. We need history for a reason. History tells us how the past have been to help us to predict the future. By the year 1998 to 2000, I was a tertiary student in Ghana. The NDC was the first party to introduce what they call cost sharing. That's why the
Well, so here are some of your social media comments on this particular promise by former President John Dramani Mahama. Kamaluddin Abdullahi says it will not materialize because of what his flag bearer said about money used in free education. This is typical whimsical promise of desperate politician like John Dramani Mahama. So that's Kamaluddin Abdullahi's comment. Akwesi Poku says, you have an opportunity to sell your policy to Ghanaians, and he's doing unnecessary comparison. Which public university paid between 18,800 to 2,200 Ghana cedis? He quizzes on social media. Also, we have Becky on X who says, and they were complaining about the implementation of free SHS, Ghana, my motherland. Kumsin Jr. On X as well says, per what this current administration is curling finances, it has shown that we have enough money to implement everything in this country. Mourinho's son at Kuku99 says, how is this a priority when you claim there are still schools under trees? The basic education is suffering. When you claim free SHS is not quality and this is what you come up with, well, sensible people. Okay. All right, and Edward also on X says, can we focus on making the basic school education accessible to all, as in facilities, equipment, teaching and learning source and resources? We continue making policies that will give us more votes and neglect little ones. At AFC Jet says, our basic schools are suffering, but yeah, let's throw our monies on those who can give us votes. All our politicians care about is how they can win elections and continue to control the nation's resources. No one will solve our problems for us. And JB also on X says, this is now a priority. NDC supporters who insulted MPP for using huge sums of money to invest in over 5 million children told us that they could have used that money to complete all schools under trees. Now, I hope they will defend this. Hypocrisy will finish us in this country. Well, let's stay on this a while longer. We're speaking to Divine Pe of Africa Education Watch. He's the head of programs at Africa Education Watch. Divine, thank you very much for joining us here on Newsroom. Welcome to the Bulletin. So, from the perspective of the Africa Education Watch, with a politician promising that tuition fees for level 100 students or admission fees for level 100 students will be completely free, is it a good policy?
All right, thank you, and good morning to your viewers. All right, Ghana actually has a target to attain 40% gross tertiary enrollment ratio by 2030. So
Our analysis, especially on the last medium-term education strategy plan, indicates that if we proceed on the current trajectory, we may not be able to attain the 40% gross tertiary enrollment ratio. In fact, in 2021, we missed the target. I think that the target was around 25%, but we are doing around 19% or so. So there are some radical measures that actually are needed to improve access to tertiary education. If you look at the data, averagely 60% of students or potential tertiary institution students that are given admission do not honor their admission because of financial constraints. So if you have a target to attain 40% across tertiary enrollment by 2030, and yet more than 50% of students that have admission to go to tertiary institutions do not have the money to go, then there's a need for you to implement some interventions to improve access to tertiary education. And if you look at a study we did last year, looking at the responsiveness of the various financial schemes to students' financial needs at the tertiary level, we were even recommending that there's a need for the student loan to even be given the loan to students that have admission but do not have the money to pay for the admission fees, because that is the point that they even need their money more, not until they have to struggle to get into the tertiary before they are able to access the student loan. So yes, if there's this policy from the NDC, as we are hearing, that they want to implement free admission for persons for tertiary education level 100, I'll say it's thoughtful, but yet again, the caveat is that we don't need to implement this on a wholesale note. I strongly believe there are students that genuinely need this particular intervention, and not every student. And so they will have to reconsider this, as much as the intention is good to improve access to tertiary education. If we want to proceed on wholesale approach, should they get the nod and come into power and to implement it on the wholesale note, the implication is that we are going to see some subsectors of the education sector being deprived of the required resources. We are seeing it at the SHS level, where basic education particularly is being deprived of the required resources because government must sustain the implementation of the free SHS policy.
Right.
So that should guide us as we proceed. So for me, the NDC must be mindful that yes, they can do it, but the cost is that they'll deprive other subsectors to be able to do that, and we don't want to see that. So our candidate advice is that they may have to consider targeting it.
All right. Let's bring into the conversation as well Daniel Oponchome, who is the national president of the National Union of Ghana Students. Daniel Oponchome, welcome to the bulletin. So, I mean, as president of NUCS and NUCS as a body, is this a policy that you endorse? Is this something that you will say is something students across the country should rally behind? Hello, Daniel. If you can unmute your microphone so that we can hear you. Your microphone is on mute. So if you can unmute your microphone. Can you hear me now? Yes, we can hear you now.
So a very good morning to yourself and your able viewers, greetings to all Ghanaian students as well. I think upon hearing this news, I mean, every Ghanaian student at a point will be happy that such a policy will be rolled out. But one of the key questions we are asking ourselves, and at a point where this happens, that even if something of this sort is being carried out, I think the student front could have been consulted so that at a point we could also tender in our recommendations and also questions, because we have a lot of questions on this particular thing linking to funding of education, because it is more or less becoming like a campaign message, and at a point the futures of we young ones are being dwindled with these political promises, because the Party A comes today and gives a lot of promises on how things could be made free. Party B comes and all that, and I mean, it's really affecting us. I asked myself this question, that with these individuals we are going to fund in a tertiary institutions, and these are individuals who don't have funds to access tertiary institutions. So they come into the tertiary institutions, and then first year you pay for them. I ask myself this question: that subsequently, second year, third year, fourth year, how these students will be able to continue their education, because they are in these conditions where they don't even have the necessary funds to keep them going. You support them in the first year.
On that particular score, if you can hear me, Daniel, on that particular score, one of the other things that they've said is that, okay, so we're giving level 100 students free tuition, and then we're enhancing the student loan scheme to enable students to have quick and easy access to students' loans, so that, of course, if they need to pay for the school fees, in the aftermath of the first year, they're able to do so. Does that put your mind at ease with regards to some of the questions that you're asking?
Six. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Daniel.
Yes. So as we speak, there's no clear-cut point on how this particular thing is going to be done. Because one of the key reasons we are looking at is we are looking at the continuity. We are looking at how it will be able to sustain it. Because as we speak, we are having over 5,000 plus schools under trees as we speak. And now funding for basic school has become a problem. We are picking the main source of funding from this particular thing we are doing from GHOne. Now GHOne has been capped. Out of the 2.5% what we get, 7 billion, which was accrued last year, just 3 billion that was used. And this is the same fund that we are picking these over 300 million Ghana cedis from. How are we going to sustain this? And how are we also looking at the very foundations of our education, which is in its deteriorating state? So we feel, as much as this is, important and good for us, we feel there are much stuff that needs to be tackled. Now, with these students we are paying their fees for, now we ask ourselves, we have a lot of students who on any day ordinarily could pay for their fees. So now we come and then we put all of them in one basket and say we are paying for all these students, which most of them will be able to even pay. So now we ask ourselves, what criteria are we using in selecting these students? Or are we just paying it for free because at a point we want to just pay for free, whilst we have a lot of genuine students who could afford their fees, what have you. So these are genuine questions we are asking that at a point possibly we would have to look at a proper review. Then, pushing out this is a very good thing, but the review of this will go a long way in lessening the burdens and also helping the students in this particular country.
Right. Very well, Daniel. I'm pretty sure subsequently we'll engage you further on some of these issues, but thank you very much. Daniel is the president of Nooks, but let's get back to Divine, who is also still on the line with us. So, Divine, you had earlier talked about this being a laudable policy, but you'd have preferred if it was, more targeted. So, when we're talking about targeting, what exactly is Africa Education Watch looking at? Let's say if they should get the opportunity to become president, talking about the NDC flag bearer John Mahama, that they should do in terms of the targeting that you talk about.
All right, thank you. This targeting, I think there's a need for us to put to rest how to target students that actually need the social interventions that we want to implement in our education sector.
Right.
The first high school actually gave us the opportunity, and I think if the NPP were to listen, I think by now we would have already developed means of mean testing to identify those that are actually in need of the program. So there's no one approach to mean testing. There are several options that are on the table, and I think the best is for a NAP consultation to be done so that we arrive at the best option, because I don't think that we cannot mean test to identify students that are in actual need of programs or policy that we want to implement in the education sector. Because anytime you talk about targeting, the question is, how do we determine those that actually need the policy? Everybody is paying tax. Why not everybody enjoy the policy, the policy as well? But the fact is, you can't say because everybody is paying tax, and therefore you have to make policy implementation equality. No, it is equity, so that you can bridge the equity gap in your educational access. So we have to be mindful of that. And number two, there's a need for us, even if we can be able to identify those that actually need the livelihood empowerment against poverty program. The reason why you and I are not enjoying that particular policy or program is that they know that we are not from poorest household. That's why we are not part of it. So if we can do that to identify those that are in need of it, and every 2 months we invest money to them, I'm not sure it will be too difficult for us to also mean test and identify those that are actually in need of the free senior high school, and then for extension, the policy idea of the NDC to access free education to level 100 of tertiary institution. I think there are options for me. I won't be here proposing an upright option, but I think if consultation is done, they'll be able to arrive at something that is conclusive and workable for the country.
All right, very well, Divine. Thank you for speaking to us here on Newsroom. Divine there is with the Africa Education Watch. Now, the flag bearer for the NDC, GHOne Mahama, has pledged to explore alternatives to the contentious betting tax as part of his campaign strategy for the upcoming elections. Now, responding to questions from some social media influencers, GHOne Mahama emphasized that his commitment to tackling key issues affecting Ghanaians, such as the needless betting tax, is something that he's going to do. Now, he reiterated his vow to abolish the betting tax and the e-levy if elected into office.
Boys, they hustle and job no day. So now the bet they do small, get money for gobe. You see? So I understand. As no say this one, it be matter where they concern the youth, plenty. So we talk already. Say where we come, the betting tax will go remove them. We know say this government and IMF sign agreement, it be so they bring the betting tax. But we for find alternative revenue to plug the whole way the betting tax will cost. So as the young boys, the street boys, the hustlers no get work to do, for the meantime they go do this small betting, then we go do the 24-hour economy where it comes to everybody get work to do, everybody they work, then we go say, but you where they bet, you get work, then you see. So for now, make the boys be, make the be, you know, the small thing that they get, we go leave give them. But when the 24-hour economy work, then you all they work, everybody get work, you they chop 111 instead of 000, then maybe in future sometime, but then maybe no be me be president, then they go look at and see whether it be something where they go do. But we go remove the betting tax. E-levy too, we go remove them.
Now, a section of Ghanaian youth who are bet enthusiasts have expressed their opinions on the pledge from the former president.
Brother man, the thing they worry is if you chop bet, maybe 100 Ghana or 50 Ghana self. Unless you open out here you want for inside before they go take your money, give you. You understand? Without that, they're not going to give you your money. No be easy. That thing they worry you. So if my mama say you can't wait, go do that thing for top and they boys go make up you, brother man. I no go lie you.
So if you win, they go remove your 10%. 10% they're supposed to take them from the company, because any stake where any customer they stake from the company, the government will take 10% from per stake from the bet company, because they make more money. It's not after I've staked like 100 times, then I managed to win just one ticket, then the government will take 10% from it. It's not acceptable. So that's why I quit Ghana bets.
The bet, like the maximum amount is maybe let's say 1,000, which you are expecting that money maybe to pay some bills or something. But immediately you will see that, or you saw that they have deducted about 100 cedis or something from it. But the tax, we don't have any problem about that. But it's too huge. Sometimes it's too huge. We don't have problems about tax. We know that tax also are the monies that they used to govern the country well. But it's huge. So we are going to vote for him because of that. Because when 100 cedis is deducted from your amount, and right now it is being added, that 100 cedis, it can buy something. Yeah.
It will be good. It will be good.
You want me to 10% tax?
I make it that, but maybe they use them for good thing for the citizenship. That one go help we. But if they come out them, we know they get anything. But they dey there, they go use them for anything good for we. They ain't good.
Well, let's stay on this a while longer. We're going on to Zoom to speak to tax analyst Eric Ojo to find out what he thinks about these proposals being made. Mr. Ojo, thank you very much for joining us here on Newsroom. The former president, John Mahama, is promising that betting tax, which is 10%, will be scrapped. A lot of people seem to be very happy about that. But in addition to that, I mean, a raft of other taxes which we are currently paying have also been promised to be scrapped, like the e-levy and other things. Considering the fact that the country finds itself in a very precarious economic situation where revenue generation is a problem, will these, proposals to scrap all of these taxes be the best approach moving forward to help us to economic recovery?
Okay, thank you so much this afternoon for a very insightful question that has been put into the public domain. But if you talk about tax, what do we mean about tax? Tax is a compulsory imposition of a levy on the citizenry or a particular group of people backed by law per Article 174 Clause 1. So we ask ourselves, we have direct tax, we have indirect tax. Direct taxes are mostly imposed on incomes and revenues and assets for that matter. Then the indirect taxes are mostly on consumption, which it is difficult sometimes to vouch the rates at which you are paying that particular tax. But then let's come to the domain of this particular question. We are told that these taxes or this particular tax is going to be scrapped off. We must ask ourselves, when this tax was imposed, from I think it was 15th August 2023, up to date, how much have we had? Second, what is the portion of that betting tax, the total tax revenue? Is it 2%? Is it 10%? Is it 5%? If it is 5%, then per statistical inclination, it is negligible. And if someone wants to scrap it, then it makes sense. But if that tax being collected, we find a percentage of the betting tax against the total tax revenue of Ghana, or let's say total tax revenue for direct tax, because the betting tax is a direct tax, it's tax on income, and it traverses beyond 5%, then I can tell you that it's a good tax to maintain. So the public have to make a better scrutiny of some of these assertions. Last year, the government raked in, through GRA, we raked in 113 billion Ghana cedis as total tax revenue. If we extrapolate it against our GDP, I'm using last year's figure, that is 854 billion Ghana cedis. Then it tells you that tax to GDP ratio is 13.2%. Any country that is having a tax to GDP ratio around 13%, it means you are having liquidity problem. You are having revenue generation problem. Because the average which will make you comfortable, 18 to 22, even some of the OECD countries, they get 30%, 35%. So now let's come back to this analysis. If it is scrapped, why are we going to scrap it? Because the Income Tax Act, Act 896, Section 115, talks about betting and the winning of what? Lotteries. So the tax enactment has been promulgated in the Tax Act. It's just a matter of implementing it. So now, let's look at the other aspect. The youth, they go into betting, they are staking lotto and all that. The question we should ask ourselves is, are they also working? They are working. Someone will be behind his laptop or TV or whatever for the whole day. Then what he does is that, okay, let me take this particular betting. When he wins, it is job, it is work that is what's doing. So the whole day, that is the work that he's doing. And you, Mr. Lantam, and the other workers who are working at Star FM and the GHOne TV, every month, PAYE is being deducted from your salary because you're also working. So there are different strands of taxes which everybody has to bear. We have company tax, which is being borne by the company after it has prepared its financial statement. We have communication service tax, that is the talk time tax. We have rent tax. If you rent and you receive income from that particular rental property, you have to pay tax. We have property what? Property rates and property tax. We have dividend tax. So much as we are having every tax which a Ghanaian or any Ghanaian is plying his trade in that arena for which the person is paying tax, then it's reasons to make sense that if we are levying tax on those who are also taking bets, then it is justifiable. Now let me come.
You don't support. So do I hear you say essentially that
electronic transactions in Ghana?
Hello, Mr. Ojo.
It has now hit 1.91 trillion.
Right, Mr. Ojo. If I can hear you, if I can get you correctly, so you don't support scrapping of the betting tax, and you believe that it's something that should
be very careful with some of these assertions. It's very, very important because what is the rationale? What is the percentage? We must calculate the percentage of the betting tax to total tax revenue.
Okay.
If it's less than 5%, then when we scrap it, it's okay. If it's more than 5%, then we should be careful.
All right. Very well, Eric Odro. We're so grateful for your insights this morning here on Newsroom. Eric Odro is a tax analyst speaking to us with regard to a policy proposal made by former President John Mahama about scrapping betting tax and, of course, some other taxes, including the e-levy. Now, in the Karachi East area, the demand for progress is palpable as the people seek essential amenities and infrastructure, and it's long overdue. The National Democratic Congress parliamentary candidate Nelson Kofi Dejab presents a vision that promises to reshape the constituency's future with a focus on healthcare, transportation, and agriculture. Now, his commitment, he says, is clear to turn Karachi East into a flourishing community. Peter Kwal Adato follows his campaign trail and has come through with this report.
Karachi East in the Oti region faces significant challenges, with the lack of essential services being the most pressing. The constituency has no hospital, leaving residents dependent on health centers, scattered clinics, and CHIPS compounds. The absence of adequate healthcare facilities forces residents to travel long distances, often at great cost, to access the services of a doctor. NDC's parliamentary candidate for Karachi East, Nelson Kofi Dejab, highlights this critical issue as his top priority should he be elected.
To ensure that the area gets a hospital. When we mean a hospital, we mean a hospital.
Healthcare is just one aspect of the NDC's vision for Karachi East. The constituency also grapples with severe transportation challenges. The Oli ferry that serves as a vital link across the Oti River is frequently out of service, leaving residents and travelers stranded for days. This situation has turned a simple journey into an arduous ordeal, rendering both personal travel and economic activity. The NDC, led by Nelson Kofi Dejab, is committed to bridging this gap.
Just like we see in Sugakope and other areas, such that anytime you come and you want to travel to Karachi, you want to cross to Bandai, you want to go to the north, river cannot become a barrier. You can easily cross.
Agriculture, the backbone of Karachi East economy, urgently needs attention. The farmers who produce yam and other crops often struggle to sell their produce due to a lack of processing facilities and poor transportation infrastructure.
We promise them mechanized agriculture in case we get the power to come into government. The moment we form government, these are the priorities we are going to tackle.
The NDC's candidates also recognizes the dire employment situation in Karachi East. Many young people, out of necessity, have turned to riding motorcycles, commonly known as Okada, as their primary source of income. While acknowledging the dangers of this livelihood, Nelson has taken steps to support these riders with reflectors for their safety, with a promise.
Well, and that's it for the Election Hub on Newsroom. Now, the vetting of two justices of the Supreme Court, Professor Papanko and Benasco Esa, became chaotic when the minority on the appointments committee moved the motion for the suspension of the process in order to deal with what they say is a lacuna in the Constitution. Member of Parliament for Boko Central, Mahama Ayariga, raised issues with the provisions in the Constitution regarding how many judges can be appointed to the Supreme Court. Now, he urged the appointments committee to suspend the vetting process since it is not in their domain to determine the ceiling for justices to the Supreme Court. This suggestion was not acceptable to the majority, who insisted that the process continued. Now, here are excerpts.
There is nowhere in this Constitution that the President is given the power to increase the number beyond the 9 plus 1. 1281 says 9 plus Chief Justice at the minimum, and you don't have an upper ceiling. That the person to decide that upper ceiling, nowhere. And I challenge anybody in this room to show me any provision in this Constitution that says that even though Article 1281 says 9 plus Chief Justice at the minimum, and you don't have an upper ceiling, that the person to decide that upper ceiling is the President. Who says the person to decide that upper ceiling is the President? Who? To show me which provision. That he can, anytime he feels like, and I'm not talking about this President, previous presidents have done that before. So it's not about this particular President. Any President, anybody should show me anywhere in this Constitution where power is given to the President to increase the number above 9 plus 1. No such power is given to the President. Now, we have had a practice where presidents sit and as and when they feel like, they just write to us, I have appointed this person, process him for her to become, or he to become a member of the Supreme Court. No provision is made for the enhancement of the numbers. This is my position on the matter. Article 298 of the Constitution is clear on this matter as well. There's a provision, and I refer you to Article 298. It says that subject to the provisions of Chapter 25 of this Constitution, where on any matter, whether arising out of this Constitution or otherwise, there is no provision, where there is no provision on any matter arising out of this Constitution, express or by necessary implication of this Constitution, which deals with the matter that has arisen, Parliament shall, by an act of Parliament, not being inconsistent with any provision of this Constitution, provide certain.
Not Boko Central MP Mahama Ayariga there. Let's connect to parliamentary correspondent and head of our political desk, Ibrahim Al-Hassan, to shed a bit more light on this. So this is the proposal that, or this is the argument that Mahama Ayariga is making. We understand that the majority side, of the committee is vehemently rejecting this. Can you help us understand where they're also coming from?
Well, so this preliminary objection came as a surprise to everybody on the committee. To be honest, last time the committee sat, again, these proceedings were dogged with controversies and arguments leading to an abrupt end to that particular meeting. Today is no exception. So Mahama Ayariga's argument is a simple one, that the Constitution talks about the least number of Supreme Court justices, and that is 9 plus the Chief Justice 10. It doesn't talk about a ceiling, and the body that ought to decide what the ceiling is Parliament. Again, if the President wants to go above the 10, according to him, per his reading of the Constitution, the President ought to come out with a CI. That's a constitutional instrument that would then make it legal for him to increase the number above 10. But given what Parliament is dealing with now, which is just nominations that have been referred to Parliament for vetting, he argues that the President doesn't have that power. And not just President Akufo-Addo. It goes all the way back to the first president of the Fourth Republic, Jerry John Rawlings. And he says that if Parliament has done the wrong things over the years, it doesn't mean that it must not stop at a point. So there was this back and forth with the majority side. Of course, this time around, the appointments committee is chaired by Deputy Majority Leader Patricia Appiah-Jay in the absence of Joseph Osei-Usu, the first Deputy Speaker. She argued that, yes, regardless of the objections that have been raised, the vetting should go on and to leave those outstanding matters to be decided. The minority, backed by Governor Kwame Aguja, Dr. Kesela Atuforsen, among others, said no. Until and unless there is a settlement on this objection that has been raised, proceedings cannot continue. And so a 10-minute suspension was taken. As I speak to you, it's way above the 10 minutes. But chances are the deliberations are still ongoing, after which the committee will reconvene for us to be given information as to what the decision has been. Mind you, in all this, the vetting proper has not started. The two individuals have been here together with their family members and others who are here to support them. Once again, they will have to wait for a while longer to know their fate as to whether finally they will be vetted, and then the report will be sent to the plenary for a decision to be taken. Mind you, Parliament is on break, and they are only summoned to return on September 3. This argument, of course, like I said, back and forth relative to the vetting, doesn't just talk about the Constitution as Mahama Arega is indicated.
Right.
The other argument is about time in Lantam. They argue that the timing is, President Kufuor has just about 4 months to leave power. They are questioning why it's decided to still send people to the Supreme Court.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Al-Hassan, for bringing us that update. Ibrahim Al-Hassan is head of our political desk and our man in Parliament. Now, the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital has resumed dialysis treatment for inpatients following a 2-week closure due to delays concerning the clearing of essential consumables needed for the dialysis at the Tema Port. The facility is now expecting to take delivery of these consumables by the close of day August 12 to allow for full operations for outpatients starting from today. But speaking to GHOne News, is Nadima Umar Uthman, Public Relations Officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Mustafa Salifu, assured that enough measures have been put in place in order to cater for the backlog of patients and also prevent any future delays.
For 2 weeks, those requiring regular dialysis to manage chronic kidney conditions at the renal unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital had to seek services at private facilities. This posed a huge financial burden on these patients who have grown accustomed to seeking dialysis at the renal unit at a cheaper cost compared to private ones. The closure of the unit, according to the hospital, was due to delays in clearing essential consumables needed for dialysis at the Tema Port. But that has been dealt with, and the facility has since resumed operations for inpatients only. Mustafa Salifu is a public relations officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and tells GHOne News that services for outpatients will resume on Tuesday, August 13, 2024.
It's never the intention of anybody in Kolebu to find ourselves in this kind of situation. When it happens, it's always issues that are beyond our control. Let's say the shipping line, for instance, it's not something that is within our remit to control and then determine when they deliver. The main supply, the quantity that we have, 40-footer container and then the 20-footer container, they are being cleared from the port, and then it's expected that they will be delivered to us in Kolebu today, so that we can we'll prepare ourselves and then open up to the outpatients. For now, we are only taking care of the inpatients, which we started today. And this morning, so far, we have done about 5 dialysis for 5 patients. And I hope that once we take delivery of the containers from the Tema Port, we will open up to the outpatients as well.
He assured that staff of the renal unit have put in place mechanisms to address backlogs as a result of the 2-week closure. adding that the 30 additional dialysis and consumables procured by the Minister for Health, Dr. Bernardo Koboy, will help prevent future shortages.
All the 30 obviously cannot go into this place. There's this new urology and nephrology center of excellence. We also have space for dialysis patients there. So, and then we also have the main medical block. And then even at I think some of the other areas in the hospital, I think this is the first floor theater, and there are seats of recovery wards. There's also a bed there for them. So there are several areas within the hospital that we can distribute the additional machines that we are getting, so that we will not have to move patients to the cabin alone to dialyze them. So that is what we are going to do. In terms of I think you're talking about backlog. In terms of that, the team will schedule every patient and then take them in, and so that nobody will lose out in this. We always make sure that we fairly, through a transparent process, schedule patients so that everybody will have their dialysis back.
The development is good news for renal patients who are happy with the resumption of services for inpatients, but want improved collaboration between agencies to avert a future recurrence. Major Ayenkra is the president of the Renal Patients Association.
You can never hold on. End-stage kidney renal failure, you can never hold on for a week. Those who does that, they do it at the pending of their own risks. It's not that easy. Me, for instance, if I can go roughly about 5 days. After that, I need to dialyze. So nobody can stay for 2 weeks. Then the person will not eat, will not drink. That one, definitely, something small will pass through your throat. So it's not advisable. And I don't know anybody who was able to stand for that 2 weeks. Everybody.
You're still watching Newsroom here on GHOne TV. We'll take a short break and return with some more. Stay tuned.
Over dialing with lucky number *7.
You're welcome back to Newsroom here on GHOne TV. Let's bring you business news. Consumers of electricity in the Ketu South Municipality of the Volta region have staged a protest against the electricity company of Ghana over what they describe as outrageous monthly tariffs. There's more in the following report.
The affected customers, most of whom are non-commercial consumer households, have outstanding bills ranging between 2,000 and 10,000 cedis. Others who run shops have even more to pay. These staggering amounts, according to them, are above their consumption.
Last year, the bill is 100 years. Every month, 80-70. Ever stop about 2 months. Every bill another 2 months after 2 months over 3,000. 3,000 amako bill in the office. Well,
that's it for business here on Newsroom. Coming up next is sports with Nama.
Now, Ghana Premier League club Accra Heart of Oak have announced the passing of a fan, William Nilai, during their 2024 Homer Cup clash against Heart of Lions on Sunday at Accra Sports Stadium. The club did not provide details about the cause of Lai's death. However, reports after Heart of Lions took the lead and was rushed to the hospital, but was later confirmed dead. The club, in a statement on Monday, said the management of Accra Heart of Oak, with a heavy heart, wishes to express our sincere condolences to the family of William Nilai, who met his untimely death on Sunday at Accra Sports Stadium. The unfortunate incident occurred during our game against Pandor Heart of Lions in the 2024 Homer World Cup. Nilai was a very passionate fan of the club who made time to watch all of our games, either home or away matches. His departure to eternity will cost us a lot. Now, Brighton and Hove Albion teenager Ibrahim Osman will be playing in the Dutch Eredivisie next season after agreeing a season-long loan move to Feyenoord. According to transfer guru Fabrizio Romano, a season-long loan deal has been agreed upon with a no-buy option clause. Ibrahim Osman will complete his medical yesterday, will officially be presented as a Feyenoord player today. He joined Brighton in January after an impressive season with his previous club in Denmark. That is all for sports here. Up next is international.
Militants allegedly allied with the Islamic State group in the eastern Congo have killed at least 12 people in several villages in North Kivu province. Fighters with the Allied Democratic Forces attacked the people in the village of Mukonia on Saturday, the municipality's mayor, Nicole Kikuku, said on national television. Now, the death toll may be higher because several villages are still missing, and the mayor has been speaking about this. Attacks from the Allied Democratic Forces have increased recently. That should do it for Newsroom here on GHOne Television. Thank you very much for watching. For more news, log on to starfm.com.gh. Also take a look at our social media pages at GHOne TV on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Have a good day. My name is Lantam Papanko.